One, well, so remember, again, I wouldn't have been too concerned about the whole project, but because of what was going on in the oil system, I kind of let that slide a little bit. Then I saw what was going on in the coolant system. Those two combined gave me enough reason to worry, right?
Gave a lot of my life to the public, but y'all don't really know.
I removed the oil pan off the new engine. This is the one I received. That's the old one right there, the one that had bad oil and shavings and all that. This is the new one, right? I wanted to just document this, that when I removed the oil pan, it had some water in there. As you can see, that's see-through, you know, at some point. I don't know what color it is. I'm hoping not green. I'm hoping it's just, you know, condensation from the combustion process just kind of sitting in there, because I know it could happen. But this is me recording this, and then I'm going to take the anything I get from in here, dump it in there, then, you know, record a video of that as well. The oil that came from there, this is the first sample. This right here doesn't look too bad. It looks much better than the other oil, I'll tell you, but it's not the cleanest. I don't know what it is with these JDM engines, honestly. So, well, that's my battery. It says the flash is, my battery is low, so the flash turned off. I do have a little more oil in my pan right there, but I'll get to it later. All right, for now, as I said, all I wanted to do was document that I just removed the oil pan, and it seemed like there was water in there. So I did my best to collect the oil that was in there. And this is it. I'm not sure if it's the glass that makes it look kind of yellow, kind of green, or if it really is greenish. I feel like coolant would be very evident if it were here. Maybe it's just the hue of the glass. Then, so this is pretty much all the oil that I got. You got this. Can't remember how many quarts that is, honestly. Then you got this right here. Right? No settling out yet. This is what I had in the drain pan. Nothing is settling out at the bottom. Neither is anything settling out over here, right? Then there's this. As I said, the only reason I'm concerned about it is if it were coolant, the leak came to the oil system. I don't expect it to be this little. And as I said, I collected everything that came out, so I should have caught anything else in here. But I'll just keep an eye on it, let it settle out a little more. I'll let it settle out a little more, then, you know, take a look at it again. But right now, I'm not too worried anymore. The original engine I had, 4023, that's the one I said I had concerns about the oil. As you can see, the one I said I wasn't fully putting back together, but it's just sitting down there. Then this one right here is the replacement engine I got. I hope the sellers recorded the number as well, 6298. And that engine is outside. Here it is, sitting on the engine stand, cleaning it. I'll get back to that in a second. Let me explain why I'm even looking at it. So I do have video where when I was opening the oil pan, I got this fluid from there. This was in the oil, right? I mean, I tried to get as much as I could out of it. So this is it. I didn't know if it was just dirty water or if it was coolant. I was a little concerned, right? So set that down. Then here, what it did was did a test with coolant, and you know, you can see a tint of green. I mean, this is 50-50. I put it there and I added some oil in it just to, as a control, to see if there was a problem with it. But then here it is. So that's what you see, right? I mean, what do we see from here? Is that unless the green tint really hangs out, it might be a little hard to tell what you're looking at. And in fact, that might as well be coolant, okay? So today, this thing was full of gunk, and today I managed to get a chance to come here, remove the top and clean it, and I noticed something. So this plug over here, it goes there. It's a plug for the coolant system. And the way I noticed that there was a problem was that this plug was already kind of letting things through. See that hole over there? This one right here. Watch it. No, it's not. There we go. You see water coming from there? You see water overflowing. There you go, and it's pretty rusty water in it. So that was my concern. Again, let's do it this way. Can you see that water bubbling? So when I was rinsing it out, because as I said, this engine had a lot of corrosion in the coolant pipes, in the coolant tubes, and what I wanted to do was rinse it out first. So I put, my hose to those two heater hoses, or heater core hoses, and I started seeing water coming up from the wrong places, because you'd expect water to come out through here or here, whatever it is, the coolant system. So seems like 2 for 2, probably a fail. I could, push this thing back in there, but I have concerns that the engine has overheated in the past. I'm back, and I was talking about these caps, right? The plugs. So check out this side. This is bank 2, the right side of it. This plug is in there, nice and secure. The other one is a threaded plug over there, so we can't really evaluate it like the other ones. This plug on the block is in there, nicely, fully in there. This one here on the head, the lower one of the head, is in there. Then there's another one here. Doesn't look like it's protruding or anything. Cool. Jump to the left side, the driver's side, or the starter side. Nope, sorry. Yeah, it is a starter side. Here's a starter hole. This one on the block is good. But then you notice this one right here, the lower one of the head, is poked out a little bit. And as I said, the way these plugs are designed, there's only one way to push them out, from the inside, right? Unless you drill and pull it out. And you can see there are no tooth marks or anything like that. Then this one here, pretty good. No complaints about this one. Come to this side, cylinder 3 and 5. This one here looks okay, but then the one on cylinder 3 looks like it was being pushed out. So I'm gonna say this, I have to read on it. I have to determine what pressure these plugs pop out at. My thinking, or rather my hope, is that these pop out before anything happens to the head gaskets, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to relay that information to the engine vendors, and at least start the conversation. They might be more conversant with regards to engines and what should happen. As I said, it was just sitting on top of it, so it doesn't seem like it was banged up or anything. And even when I turned the engine, this thing did not fall off. I had to, when I was pushing, when I was sending the hose through and water was bubbling up, that's when I went and removed it. So, and it did not really give me that much resistance. Still, it's worth looking into. It would be pretty pointless to spend all the time and money to reassemble this engine, put it in the car, and then realize, well, whoops, you had a bad, you somehow have a messed up coolant system. So either the head gaskets or the heads or the block, whatever it is, something that would allow water or coolant to mix with oil. So that's what I'm going to go look into. Okay. That there's any way to prove that this is exactly what I claim it is, but this liquid in here is what I got from the hoses when I turned it. I wanted to drain whatever little coolant was there before it ended up all over my garage floor, and this rusty water is what I got. So again, back to those 2 bottles I was talking about. It's either someone did not run it with coolant. Antifreeze is important, even if it doesn't exactly freeze where you are, because in coolant they usually have those corrosion inhibitors. So those do help. And if you run pure water in your system, you're probably going to end up with something like that. Because yes, it's a mostly aluminum block, but it's got steel liners for the cylinders, for the cylinder walls. So yes, if you do have water, pure water, in contact with your engine, you'll probably end up with rusty water at some point. And that's what I'm saying. So those two bottles I was looking at earlier, okay, this is the coolant, the one that is for sure coolant, because I put coolant in there, and oil. You can see the green tint, right? And then this is the mystery, and then this is the mystery liquid. It's yellowish, you know, so it's not all that innocent. I suppose what I should have done is gotten pure water and oil and mix it up and seen how it ends up looking like, right? But yeah, so as it is right now, I'm still cautious. I'm not 100% sure that I had a coolant breach into my oil. However, I'm not assembling the engine either, because there's that chance. So something I'm going to do to actually try to prove it is pop the valve cover gasket, the valve covers, and I should be able to see if you have coolant or water in there. Yep, bad luck. All right, so far in that one, all I see is oil. No signs of any liquid, no signs of any water or coolant in there. So yeah, this bank looks safe. All oil, and the oil itself doesn't look that bad either. All right. It's not excessively clean, which is usually a sign of coolant. If, you know, it looks like it's been power washed. I've seen, well, not too many, but I've seen enough engines with blown head gaskets and cracked heads to know exactly what coolant in the oil system does. So we're going to jump over to the other side. This side does look a little cleaner, but I wouldn't say excessively clean, not to the level of worrying me. So let's get a little closer to it. And again, oil in most of the lower areas, most of the areas you expect something to pool. Of course, I mean, you do have a hole like this one right here. See the hole? So the lowest area is supposed to drain whatever contents you have in the system down there. But again, doesn't look like anything to be worried about, because there's some places once a liquid gets, it can't really get out, you know? Places like that up here, you know, all the way in there, you know, beside the bolts, that is. The places once water or oil makes it there, it just won't really move. Yeah, even when you do like a seafoam cleanse, just really won't clean it up. So again, after popping it here, I'm back to the point where I'm not too worried. And I don't know, I mean, I'll give it a try. Try to push these caps back on, the plugs, you know, as you can see, there's a hole over there. So try to figure out what's going on. And so remove this tube over here. This is the outlet tube. This is the heater hose. So that's the one that feeds your heater. And there's a return to it towards the outside. And the outside being here, bypass the thermostat housing, go up into the top of the radiator. Then this thermostat housing, you know, there's a thermostat over there, kind of. Anyway, I'm making a different type of video. Today I'm here to complain about this mysterious water that I'm seeing in my stuff. You know, at first I thought maybe it was just condensation in in the oil pan, but I don't know. Well, let's keep going. We'll keep going. You remember me calling out rusty water? Well, so here, there's some proof here. That is the coolant passage. And the whitish stuff, I'm guessing it's from my degreaser. That's the only reason. That's the only explanation I can have for that stuff in there. And here's the water pump that came from there. As you can see, it's got the hydraulic fan piping for it. Yeah, rusted. I bet it can turn. Yeah, it still turns. It's just that I think opening the cap up top doesn't help it either, you know. So maybe a lesson in how to preserve the engines. This is the one that came from the 06. No hardware on the other side. And as you can see, it's clean. Well, it's got a little bit of corrosion, but nothing too major, right? It's got steel blades, steel veins, so things do happen. And that's the beauty of these engine projects. Sometimes you don't really know what you got till you're all the way in there. So what I'm going to do is degrease these parts, and whatever it is I can put back in there, At the end of the day, the work will still go on. I'm going to assemble this engine and proceed to install it in the car. Well, this video is actually supposed to be at the end, but I'm going to talk about it right now. Remember my concerns with the oil system, or rather with water in the oil? This is water collected from in there, as evidenced by the question marks, right? It looks like dirty water and oil. The second thing I did was get this 50-50 coolant mix, and in the right light you can see that there's a tint of green in there. Mix that with oil, dirty oil as well. And from the same oil, that's labeled 50-50. From the same oil, I went to my kitchen faucet, got some tap water, mixed it with oil, and that's what you see. To me, and my untrained eye, these look like the same thing. Seeing what I've seen, I mean, I wanted to just, it's an assumption on my part, but I'm comfortable with it, is that it's just condensation from, you know, the burning process, basically. Because we already saw that the PCV system in this engine wasn't the best. You saw the oil in the intake, and obviously makes sense that I'd see a little bit of condensation in there. If this engine was not run regularly enough, it's going to collect in there. It's not going to burn off. It's not going to get out of there. So I decided I'm just going to go ahead and do the job. And I'll tell you, I intended to go get some test strips, coolant test strips, which would be like litmus paper. If you put it in coolant, it would turn one color. If you put it in water, the strip would not change at all. So my intention was to test it here. It would change one color because this one for sure has coolant. Test it here, it should do nothing. And when I tested it here in the mistress liquid, I would get no reaction either. That was my intention. However, I could not get this. I could not get these things anywhere. So I did not want to waste my weekend, so I decided to make a call, and I'm just going to go ahead and do this job. While I put it back together, one thing I intend to do to address this corrosion going on over here, I hosed it down, I did as much as I could, cleaned it up, but still, I might do something. I might replace this tube in here, because I do have more than enough spares, right? I might do something for that to take care of the corrosion in there. But for that, or rather for the rest of the system, what I can't see, what I'm going to do is this. I went to Walmart and bought some of this Thermocure stuff. It's supposed to remove rust, among other corrosion things. So the instructions say that I'm supposed to use distilled water, or rather it just says water, but I'm going to use distilled water. And I mean, I do have a lot of distilled water and some here that's partly used. I usually buy distilled water, and whenever I get my coolant, I do my coolant jobs, I buy concentrate. So it turns out to be cheaper. I know I bought this from Walmart for about $10 each, but say I bought it from AutoZone. If memory serves me right, it's usually about 18 bucks or 17 bucks. 50-50 premix is like $2 less. So if I wanted to get 2 gallons of 50-50 coolant, I'd buy 1 gallon of concentrate for 18 bucks, buy this for $1, 19 bucks, I got 2 gallons. However, if I wanted to buy 50-50 premix, there would be about 16 bucks each, or maybe 15, whatever it is. So for 2 gallons, if you did not mix it yourself, you'd get it for about, let me say, 32 bucks, just funny how economics work sometimes. So obviously that situation is not for everybody, but it's an example of times you could save yourself a lot of money by doing work yourself. Again, I can't really remember. I don't know why it's $10 here versus, I thought it was always about 17 at AutoZone. I think this is going to be a good place to leave this project right now. Hopefully next time I pull out a camera, I'll be showing assembly steps, or just showing that the engine is on its way into the car. It depends on whatever it is my equipment decides to cooperate on. It's just a regular camera. Sometimes it overheats, and with time, hopefully when the channel picks up and I'm able to monetize again, I'll be able to buy better equipment for recording videos. For now, I'm gonna have to say goodbye.
Feel the bass, can you feel it?